Hey folks, welcome to Bear Mountain. This week we're doing something, it's early spring, it's March 1st. Well, maybe it's late winter, but for us, it's kind of moving towards the spring side of things, and we've been busy transplanting things, and we're going to be putting something into an area that is too shady during the summer for roses, but it's kind of a dappled shade, so we thought would be a great place to put some rhubarb plants. Now, Denise hates rhubarb.
Oh yeah.
But I love it. I love the tart taste of it. Mix it with strawberries. There's all kinds of great things you can do with making all kinds of great things in the kitchen with it. They make great sauces. And so what we did is we bought 3 plants of the variety called McDonald. Now these are going to put out nice, good cherry red stems. Excuse me, Miss Cat, what are you doing? Be nice. And these were just recently divided by the nursery itself, and when we got them, we potted them up just to kind of hold them for a little bit because our weather was a bit inclement.
Snow.
But, yeah, and now we're at a point where we can go ahead and plant them. But we had them in our cooler, and we were storing them at about 35 degrees. So they're still trying to move. So these guys are really alive and ready to go. So we're going to be planting them in an area back here. And I got 3 basic holes spread out. And let me stand up here so we can get a better look at it. Each of these holes are spaced about 3.5 feet apart, and it's about 3.5 feet to 4 feet from the roses itself. So this would be perfect. This pin oak tree here will provide some shade in the hot afternoon, but in the morning this area will get nice sunshine to it. Basically in the morning our sun rises almost directly east of us, so this area does get a fair amount of sun. And like I said, it's a dappled type shade, you know, getting to full sun when we get further over to where the roses are. So we thought this would kind of be a nice structure plant to put in, nice big green leaves, and it's something other than, you know, having to deal with slugs that most other animals won't bother with.
Are you sure it's deer resistant?
Well, we hope it is. But let's put it this way, if the deer eat the leaves of the rhubarb, they're going to have quite an upset stomach. But it doesn't mean that, you know, a hungry animal will eat anything. So we'll see how it goes, but pretty sure that we should be okay with that. So how are we going to prepare it? When I set these guys up individually potted, I did give them a soak in some compost tea, basically an extract to kind of give them something around, you know, the actual crown and root itself. And for the actual holes, one of the things about rhubarb is they need a well-drained area, but they do need consistent moisture. So what we're going to be doing is putting biochar. We have some cured biochar. It's about 2 years old. We're going to be putting in the individual holes. Biochar can hold almost 7 times its own weight in water. So the nice thing about biochar from this standpoint, besides the microbiologic benefit to it, is it's going to help retain more water around the roots itself. This area drains really well, so even in the wintertime when we get heavy rains, it drains out pretty fast. So this is kind of a perfect spot for this. If you do plant rhubarb in an area that's heavy clay, slow to drain, there's a good chance the roots will rot. So it's always important to have your drainage kind of figured out. So for the addition to each hole, what we're going to put in is we're going to put in our own compost and a shovel full of biochar, and just kind of mix it well in the hole. This isn't going to be a complicated planting process. It's just a matter of you know, kind of getting it done and having some consistency to it. And then when we're finished planting, we're also going to put around, we have a bunch of well-rotted leaves. These are oak leaves. We're going to put around the plants as a mulch, and then we'll be putting irrigation in a bit, probably another month once we get that kind of all figured out. So the actual pests that are going to bother rhubarb are not much, other than slugs are probably your worst enemy. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. This is our own compost. And once we, for an annual maintenance, it's actually pretty easy too. What we'll just be doing is basically applying kind of maybe a ½ inch of compost around as a mulch, plus more of the oak leaves, just to kind of keep it kind of like a humusy environment. So I think I was a little light on the biochar on this particular hole. So let me get one other thing here. Now I'm just going to use my spading fork here. I don't need to add extra roots. And just kind of make sure I mix it in well. And then I'm going to make kind of a depression. And the individual plants themselves, I don't want to cover up these red buds. Okay, what I want to do is just plant it just about like this, where the soil line is right up around the crown itself. And so we're not going to be putting them in too deep. And just make sure it's kind of well packed around it. So now when I put a mulch around it, I'm still going to make certain that this crown is well exposed, because I want the light to hit this and I don't want to have an issue with rot. And that's basically it. And then these guys should root up pretty fast. And I won't really be harvesting anything off them this year. The first year is just kind of getting them established. And really the only maintenance that we'll need to do is if they do put up any seed stock, say later in the summer, we just got to make sure to snap those off. And so the whole idea will be, just this year, the first year, we'll be getting good growth on it, getting the plant established. And then the second year, we should be able to start harvesting on it. The life of these plants is really pretty good. I mean, commercially, I think they can go 8 to 10 years for folks that are actually farming this. So I would think we should be able to do that too. And typically what happens is you reach a point where the crown just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And so after a certain point, it's like anything, you just divide it and, reinvigorate the plant, because chances what can be happening is the center of the plant, as it begins to get bigger and bigger, will get less robust, and you might get some rot or things like that going in there. So it just becomes a matter of, kind of keeping up on it from that standpoint. Other than that, harvest time for these guys would, for us in our climate, kind of starts probably in about May, right around that period of time. It'll go till maybe early July. You don't really want to go past harvesting the stalks off these guys past, July, because what you want is the plant to have enough time, through the summer before it goes dormant again, to get enough energy back into the root system to start the whole process all over again. So it's not something that, once it starts putting out leaves, you just keep yanking the stems off, because you can exhaust the plant. It's kind of like the same idea that you have with asparagus. You harvest asparagus when the spears are first starting, and you kind of back off, by the time you get to maybe early June or sometime at that time. And then in order for the plant to put up enough spears to, get enough energy to start the process all over again. Other than that, this is a dream plant because there's not much work to it. What do you think?
I want to know how you're going to convince me to like rhubarb.
How am I going to convince you? Well, we're going to find some really good recipes. Maybe even the people watching this video might even suggest some good recipes, or they might just all go,
Maybe I've only just had kind of yucky rhubarb, not fresh from the garden, or...
Well, certainly if you harvest stalks that are older, they're going to be stringier. So
Yeah.
you got to kind of keep that in mind.
Maybe that's what my problem is.
Yeah, the The older stalks, you know, if you let them go, they're going to get more, you know, stringy, and they're not going to be maybe as sweet, you know, and that sort of thing. They're gonna lose a lot of their natural sugars and things like that.
Maybe strawberry rhubarb jam.
Well,
or syrup.
Jams, or I've seen people also use it for like cooking with making sauces for like putting on like pork loins or something of that nature. So
I have to give that a try. I'm not totally against this. It's not one of my favorite things. So.
Well, the nice thing I like about this is that it's going to be full of vitamins and, you know, really good things. If it tastes like crap, it's got to be good for you, right?
Yeah. So, seems pretty easy and straightforward.
Yep, I think so. So we'll just put the rest of these guys in. It's an easy planting job. Like I said, we're not going to need much protection here. So
we're still
should do the job.
We've got part of the blueberries that we showed you, but we haven't got them all yet. We're still waiting for another shipment of blueberries and for the trees.
Yeah.
Where it's coming from is kind of snowy and wintry.
Yeah, they've kind of been backed up.
And we're thinking that that's the problem. So that's what we're waiting for. But this is the rhubarb that came in, and that's why we're planting it.
Yeah, interestingly enough, we ordered these rhubarb plants from Norse Farms. They're out of Massachusetts, and so they sent us
also the blueberries.
And they sent us some of the blueberries, and then, well, they sent a phytosanitation certificate with the blueberries, and we found out that the blueberry plants were actually raised in a nursery about 40 miles south of us. So
yeah.
it's kind of like
they drove past us to get on an airplane to
go to
them.
Massachusetts to turn around and come back to us. But
yeah.
they all look
strange.
they still look good.
Yeah, just a little strange.
Yeah.
So that about covers it?
Yep, that's about it.
Okay.
So I think, you know, this is going to be a real quick one this week. So thanks for joining us. And like I said, if you got some suggestions on, you know, good uses of rhubarb, you know, that maybe would help someone who is not enthusiastic about it to say, yeah, that's pretty tasty. We do appreciate the comments. And as always, stay safe out there. We'll catch you on the next video. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.